Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
I'm proud to be partnering with my very good friend Lee Greenwood, who doesn't love his song, God Bless the USA, in connection with promoting the God Bless the USA Bible. This Bible is the King James Version and also includes our Founding Father documents, yes, the Constitution, which I'm fighting for every single day, very hard, to keep Americans protected. Also, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance are all part of this God Bless the USA Bible. And it's just very important and very important to me. I want to have a lot of people have it. You have to have it for your heart, for your soul. Many of you have never read them and don't know the liberties and rights you have as Americans and how you are being threatened to lose those rights. It's happening all the time. It's a very sad thing that's going on in our country, but we're going to get it turned around. Religion and Christianity are the biggest things missing from this country, and I truly believe that we need to bring them back, and we have to bring them back fast. I think it's one of the biggest problems we have. That's why our country is going haywire. We've lost religion in our country. All Americans need a Bible in their home, and I have many. It's my favorite book.
Well, praise the Lord. He's found Jesus.
Couldn't have found a better messenger for God's word. And I like that even though he's clearly got a script, right? It's pre-taped. He just can't help himself. He's got to riff. He's got to.
I mean, I've been laughing since I can't stop laughing. I keep on watching it over and over and over and over again. And it just gets better and better. Like the Bible. You can read it 100 times according to him, and it just gets better and better, like a good movie. Oh, my God. Wow. But praise the Lord, everybody. Donald Trump has found Jesus. He has found him, and he has finally decided that what most churches give away for free, the Bible, he will sell to the flock as he fleeces them once again. Oh, my God. Wow. Jesus is the good Lord who he's the shepherd overlooking the flock. And Donald Trump, is the sheep shearer. So I guess Jesus needed one because the sheep have to be sheared regularly. Oh, my God. This will look so good on your shelf. It'll look so good next to your $399 Donald Trump gold sneakers, next to the bottle of Trump vodka. Or wait, is that the water or the vodka? I don't know. Next to the rancid steaks and all the other crap that this man has tried. I mean, he had trading cards. He made about $1 million off of those stupid trading cards, the ones that portrayed him as the sheriff and like the Village People is what it was. Remember those trading cards? Holy crap. And then he had NFTs forcing all of the people over the age of 30 to look it up, right? Like, what is an non-fungible token? And to this minute, to this day, to this very second, no one understands, what the hell is that? And why is that valuable? And why do I need one, want one, have to have one? You know what I'm saying? And he made money off of that. Obviously, the man has made, a ton of money off of basic fraud, 4 criminal indictments, 91 felony counts, and you'll buy a Bible from him? Listen, I'll tell you the only character that he relates to in the Bible. Somebody beat me to it. Come on. Somebody tell me. That's right, the snake. The snake. And that's about as far as he's gotten in the Bible, too, is the Garden of Eden. I don't think he's made it out of the Garden of Eden, and I think he totally relates to, the serpent, to the reptile, and the reptilian lizard brain. And he keeps on telling you he's a snake, and the snake is now selling you the Bible about how dangerous and deadly he is. And then he's going to turn around and say, but I told you I was a snake, tender woman, let me in, let me in. $60 he's going to take from you. $60. The man needs $60 so bad. I mean, I just, it's stunning. And then yesterday we got completely derailed from what I had planned for the day because a bridge collapsed in Baltimore. Okay, and but we were going to open the show yesterday with this.
I'm wondering what one or two of your most...
No. Oh, no. This. Wait, 54. Yeah.
I am very humbly asking if you could chip in $5, $10, or even $25. I know that times could be tough, and they are tough under this horrible president that we have, crooked Joe Biden.
He needs your $5. He needs $5. The man was literally on Truth Social, which is another grift, whole other grift. I mean, the company has. We went over this the other day. I told you, the valuation. This is. No one can explain it. No one on Wall Street can explain it. Kramer can't explain it. Stephanie Rule, who is a money person. Okay, she is a business reporter on MSNBC, but now she has her own show because she's so adorable. She's just so adorable. You just want to pinch the cheek. So cute. But anyway, she's a money person, and no one can explain why Trump Social is making him into a billionaire. The whole freaking thing. Kara Swisher, she laid it out, she said, listen, Truth Social's worth like $3 million. She said her podcast, Kara Swisher's podcast is worth $3 million. Damn, I need to glom onto her. I need to follow her wherever she's going.
I want to talk about Donald Trump's Truth Social because the newly merged social media company will begin trading on the NASDAQ under the stock ticker DJT for Donald J. Trump tomorrow. Now, Trump owns at least 8% of the company. That's worth at least $3 billion, although he can't actually sell the shares for 6 months. Does it offer him some kind of a lifeline here?
Well, he could possibly because the board could give him dispensation to do so, although you could see shareholder lawsuits going anywhere. I don't understand how this is going public. It makes $3 million in revenue, 3.5. My podcast makes a lot more money than it does, and it loses 49 million. I make a lot. I'm just saying. I should go public at that many billion.
Yeah, you should.
And then it also it loses $50 million, and its users have declined precipitously, 39% this year. This is not a business; it's a meme stock. It's I forget which website called it, but I think maybe Axios. It's the memeiest meme stock in all of meme land. It's just it will be supported and possibly a way to get money to Donald Trump. And if he sells it early, the stock's going to go down. But, there's probably a lot of people going to short this thing. But, you never know. He has a lot of supporters. So GameStop was worth a ton of money, even though it didn't have the business to support it. So this will. And it could, if he sells some, it could make him some. But I suspect there'll be shareholder lawsuits everywhere.
I mean, listen, the thing is not worth the paper it's printed on the stock, okay? It's not worth jack. It's worth nothing. He's got, $50 million in losses on $3 million in revenue. You do the math, okay? How do you have a business where the whole business is valued at $3 million and you have $50 million in losses? Oh, he loves debt. He loves debt, he says, But it's a grift. I mean, and I was listening to Kramer also. I mean, somebody explain this to me. Somebody tell me how is this being sold on Wall Street? How is this actually a thing that you could actually get money out of? I don't.
Your point on light volume on DJT is interesting as we see the shares rocket higher here. There's also a lot of attention being paid to the light revenue, you could argue, in the first 9 months of last year.
That's a very polite way to put it. Yeah. I think that this is a very expensive stock. The people who are buying it, I think it's almost like it's a keepsake. That the people who want to support Donald Trump know that as this goes higher, he's able to raise more money. Of course, the amount that he owes was cut back yesterday that he has to put up.
Yep.
A keepsake. What is a keepsake stock? Somebody in the money world, somebody that day trades, somebody that understands that particular marketplace. You're gonna have to explain to me what a keepsake stock is. Do I hang it on my tree? Do I fold it into my Bible like the rose from my prom? It's a keepsake stock? What is a keepsake stock? What am I supposed to do with it? Holy crap. This is another grift. Another one.
all things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Okay, so Jim Cramer, can I borrow it and then short it? Would I be able to do that and make money on it that way?
So I think this is surprising a lot of people. You can't borrow it to short it.
Oh.
It would seem like a natural short.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have, as you said, a lot of
value.
There's no earnings power. It doesn't even have that much revenue. But I do think that this is something that the higher it goes, the more likely Donald Trump can go to the board and say, listen, guys, you know what? The market wants it. Let's unlock it so I can sell. Now, the board is, some people say it's a captive board, but his son's on the board.
Sure.
But that's what if I were President Trump, which, by the way, I am most certainly not.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Yes. If I were king of the forest, I would go in and say to the board, people want stock. Let's unlock this. And that's what I would do if I were on the board. I would unlock it.
Because it's a grift, everybody. Because it's a grift. Michelle in California.
Hi.
Hi.
I actually, I'm in accounting background. I actually was thinking that for very rich investors who could use a loss against gains, this is a way to do a backdoor to have a political donation be a tax deductible.
That's right. That's exactly what's going on here. It's always a scam. It's always a game. It's always big. You're being played. And, the big money that might be able to afford a stock that has no value, no revenue, 500,000 users total, but they're willing to spend $70, $80 a share for, might be doing it just for the loss so they can deduct what is going to be very soon a political donation to Donald Trump. Yeah.
Yes, so that's all I wanted to say. So, I mean, it just, I mean, if anybody else doesn't, I mean, if people just don't see that this is just another grift, then,
but Michelle, it's a keepsake. I'm going to hang it on my tree.
Oh, it's a great souvenir of the great gold idol for,
Yes, it's better than hanging a golden ram on my Christmas tree. Or a
you
plastic
can hang
Moses. I'm just going to get the serpenty snake and a hallmark, ornament with my stock, for my Trump stock, my DJT stock, in a piece of lucite hanging from my tree.
Right, it'll fit better it fits much better in a altar than other items that he sold.
Yes, exactly. But the Bible would look good, though, if you had the sneakers be bookends. You know what I mean? It would be very, very Trumpy, very, very Trumpy.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye. Yes, she is actually correct. Okay, and this is why people who comment on the stock market, this is why people who comment on finance are so scared to say that they are hip to what this stock is about, because they would then be, called into the big man's office and say, why are you giving stock advice? You're not allowed to give advice. You're not allowed to tell people who buy stock what you think of, the poor valuation, the lack of earnings power versus the price of this stock. Except to say, it looks like a short sale. It looks like something you could make money on. You know what I mean? That's it. That's all you're allowed to do. But you can't give financial advice. But this is obviously a path for big donors to buy something from Donald Trump and then watch it be devalued by the marketplace, say that they lost money on that. Donald Trump takes the money, uses it to finance his campaign, even though he's never paid for his own campaign. He always tells you he's going to. Oh, I don't need other people's money. And then he says in the next side of his mouth, oh, I love other people's money. But Donald Trump doesn't pay for his own campaigns. He makes the sheeple pay for his campaign. But this is another way, and this is a way to get quick money, big money, fast, is just issue a stock that has no value, who's on the board of this thing. It's his sons, it's his family, and they're in financial distress. They're like, pretty much looking at their dad just piss away their entire inheritance, everything. 40 Wall Street, the Westchester property where I think Eric Trump lives. Seven Springs, I think it's called. It's like that big, gigantic English-looking mansion. It looks like, a castle out there in Westchester County. They're losing their entire inheritance. And so they need another grip. They need another way. This would be perfect. This would be sheer perfection, okay? And then the people who bought the stock, the big people who, bought the stock, could say, oh, it's a loss. Lost money in the stock market, and that is a tax deduction. Did you know that? Yes, losses are tax deductions for moneyed interests. Business can take losses as a tax deduction. Capital gains, you could take losses and have a tax deduction. In fact, Donald Trump manufactured a loan. See, we didn't know anything about this until this whole fraud thing actually put some sort of a hold on his properties, meaning a lien could be placed on his properties if he, after, they said $445 million if he wanted to appeal. So he was able to talk the court into lowering the price to appeal from $445, which is what he's been adjudicated to owe New York taxpayers, to $145. $145 million gives him the right to appeal. Doesn't mean that the damage assessment is less. It means that the right to appeal costs less. Why they did it, no one knows. This is crazy, but the Court of Appeals, I think it's the Second Circuit, that actually issued this 2-page ruling about Donald Trump lowering the cost for him to make an appeal from $445 to $175. They gave no reason. It was a 2-page order, and there was no reason at all. They didn't say, and it's an appeals court. They don't have to tell you nothing. They don't have to say jack. They could just do, and they did, and they won't say. So we don't know exactly why, but he still owes if he loses the appeal, he'll still owe the full amount, $445. So he needs money. And selling Bibles, I mean, that's fun. What do we call this? Pay to pray? I mean, what do we call this? Is this is payola. Okay, in my business, pay to play has an actual meaning. So what it means is back in the day, there were records. And then after the records, there were CDs. And then after CDs, somewhere in the middle, there were CDs and carts, which were Mobius strip tapes. My dad actually helped invent the endless loop cartridge. Interesting that I ended up being a DJ. They were in my house my whole growing up years, okay? But anyway, now it's digital. Now it's just all digital. It's just binary. It's ones and zeros, okay? But if a record rep would come to you and offer you, I don't know, money or cocaine, like that ever happened, and you played their record because they did that, that's called taking payola. And it was a crime.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Yes, it's illegal. It's called pay to play, right? It's illegal. This is pay to play. Pray. Pay to pray. Oh, my God. All right, everybody, you have to pay to watch, okay? It doesn't rhyme. It's not as much fun. But it's here. It's here every single day. What is it? It's free speech TV. Yeah, free speech is not free. As you know, you have to fight for it. You have to fight for your right to speak in this here country. You do. And the attack, God help us, on free speech is full throttle, full tilt. Full tilt. It's full bore, everybody. Full bore. This white nationalism thing that's creeping up on us, whether or not this man actually ascends to the presidency or not, it's not going away. Yesterday we were watching them attack Mifepristone, okay, at the Supreme Court. I got a lot of thoughts about what that was about. had a really good eye-opening experience. I'm going to share it with you as soon as I finish my pitch. Okay, but I need you to call now at 1-877-378-8669 and make a donation to Free Speech TV, or visit us at freespeech.org and make a donation that way. Use the QR code right there on your screen if you like. It'll take you to freespeech.org, or you can use your phone and text FSTV to 44321. 44321, enter FSTV, and we'll send you a secure link. And you can make a recurring donation if you like. You could do a one-time bigger. You could do a one-time small. You could do a one-time medium. Just right. You could do, a medium every month. And then you could turn it off if you say, oh, I thought I could do it this month, but I can't do it next month. No problem. No problem. We hear you. We see you. Okay. So use the secure link at FSTV 44321. Thank you so much for your support. We cannot do this without you because we are a not-for-profit. We don't play commercials. We don't take political money. Okay. And we don't shill for products. Okay. We just don't do it. So thank you very much. We appreciate you always. Elgin on Long Island.
Just when I thought that I was through with my Donald Trump detox, orange skin Jesus with the bad Barney Rubble haircut does this.
It is a Barney Rubble haircut.
It is a Barney Rubble haircut.
It's a Barney.
I was looking at the Flintstones the other day. That's what it is.
It is.
Same style. But I digress. He devalues everything he touches. Schools, casinos, steaks, even sneakers.
Yeah.
But this, and I hope evangelicals this time are listening, because this book, which some people still value as sacred, I'm one of them. I'm not a Christian. I'm a believer in Christ. But if he touches, if they allow him to touch this without any outcry, they don't even realize that this is causing people and will cause people to devalue the book and disregard it, all because he wants his name on it, and they want to bow their knee to orange-skinned Jesus.
So sad that they are doing the false idol thing right up front,
Right up front.
Right up front. And he licensed his name and likeness and everything, I mean, he does, because he didn't write it. I just want to let the evangelicals know he didn't write any of the material that's in there.
Yeah, but he's including material in the Bible, and it says in the Bible that you cannot add to it.
Well, it also says, render unto God what is God's and render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, meaning separation of church and state. So
absolutely,
if people don't recognize that, the Establishment Clause in the Constitution creates a separation between the church and the state so that each can thrive, right? I mean, the reason why we separate the church and the state is so that both can thrive, right? Well, if they don't believe that that's in our Constitution, I have news for you. It's in your Bible. It's in there.
Absolutely is. In fact, and none other than Jesus said it.
Yeah.
Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and the things that are God's unto God.
Right. Exactly.
Period. End. Dot.
Right, and
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you got to realize that this is a group of people who claim to live the life that is required, live a Christian life, live a church life, live a believer's life, right? And yet at his events they actually wheel in a golden idol, and now Orange Jesus is putting his name on the Bible and selling it. If that's not pay to pray, I don't know what is.
That golden idol, Randy, was wild. But I gotta say that comparison to Barney, I like that. They're both
I never heard
orange.
that before.
They're both a little orange. They're both a little dopey, and they both have wives that are way too hot for them.
Betty, yeah, you're right. Well, here's the rest of his pitch in case, you were on the fence and wondering whether or not you should make the purchase. Perhaps this will nudge you along to give him $60 for something that people who believe in the Bible give away for free.
This Bible is a reminder that the biggest thing we have to bring back America and to make America great again is our religion. Religion is so important. It's so missing, but it's going to come back, and it's going to come back strong, just like our country is going to come back strong. In the end, we do not answer to bureaucrats in Washington. We answer to God in heaven. Christians are under siege.
What?
They must protect content that is pro-God. we love God, and we have to protect anything that is pro-God. We must defend God in the public square and not allow the media or the left-wing groups to silence, censor, or discriminate against us.
What?
We have to bring Christianity back into our lives and back into what will be again a great nation. Our founding fathers did a tremendous thing when they built America on Judeo-Christian values. Now that foundation is under attack, perhaps as never before. What can we do? Stand up, speak out, and pray that God will bless America again. I'm proud to endorse and encourage you to get this Bible. We must make America pray again.
Pay to pray. Mappa? Is that it? Mappa now? Mappa. Make America pray again. This is so sacrilegious. This is such blasphemy. I'm surprised that book didn't burst into flames. This is just, you remember the time he used violence to clear the way to St. John's Church so that he could hold the Bible upside down? Let me take you to Trump's Bible study, okay? Shall we just listen to our, what should we call him? Our pastor Donald Trump. When we come back, prepare to bow your heads and pray with us. Operators are not standing by to pray with you. They are standing by to take your money, though. In Denver, Colorado, 877-378-8669. Or you can make your donation at freespeech.org, okay? Just saying. They're not going to answer the phone and pray with you, though. If you want that, you should call Trump Tower, apparently. Selling the Bible, where's the bank of, he is like every single snake oil salesman on the TV televangelist. But at least when they actually ask for your money, they will pray with you. He will not. He wouldn't know how. I'll show you.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I'm wondering what one or two of your most favored Bible verses are and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal. You know, when I talk about the Bible, it's very personal, so I don't want to get into verses. I don't want to get into...
There's no verse that means a lot to you that you think about or cite?
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
Favorite authors?
Well, I have a number of favorite authors. I think Tom Wolfe is excellent.
Did you read Vanity of the Bonfires?
I did not.
It's a phenomenal book.
What book are you reading now?
Yeah.
Well, I'm reading
Bonfire of the Vanities.
I'm reading my own book again because I think it's so fantastic, Tom.
Is there a favorite Bible verse or Bible story that has informed your thinking or your character through life, sir?
Well, I think many. I mean, when we get into the Bible, I think many, so many. And some people talk an eye for an eye. You can almost say that. That's not a particularly nice thing. But, if you look at what's happening to our country, I mean, when you see what's going on with our country, how people are taking advantage of us and how they scoff at us and laugh at us and they laugh at our face. And
what's the best book you've read beside Art of the Deal?
I really like Tom Wolfe's last book, and I think he's a great author. He's done a beautiful job.
Which book?
His current book. His current book. It's just out.
Bonfire of the Vanities.
Yes. And the man has done a very, very good job. And I really can't hear with this earphone, by the way.
And I asked some of the folks because I hear this is a major theme right here, but 2 Corinthians, right? 2 Corinthians 3:17. That's the whole ball game. Where the Spirit of the Lord, right? Where the Spirit of the Lord is,
right?
There is liberty. And here there is Liberty College, but Liberty University. But it is so true. When you think, and that's really, is that the one? Is that the one you like? I think that's the one.
The one you like?
No, I don't want to do that.
You're an Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal. I think it's just an incredible, the whole Bible is an incredible. You can read it over, and many people have done this, and they've led their life that way, but you can read it hundreds and hundreds of times.
I mean, this is the evangelical right wing's guy. This is their guy. This is their.
How do you get asked that question, and then not be prepared afterwards?
Because
right? You got caught once.
He lies so seamlessly and effortlessly that he doesn't need to know anything, and he knows that. He knows that he is the BS artist of all artistes, and he doesn't need to know anything.
You think after the first time he got caught, you think he'd at least say like to an assistant, "Hey, get me a verse that'd be good for me to say next time, and that'll be the one I have locked and loaded."
No, because then people will.
So I don't look like an idiot.
Well, he would look like an idiot quoting scripture. I mean, the idea that he tried to do 2 Corinthians 13, which is about love. It's a nice one. But that he blew it and said 2 Corinthians walk into a bar and,
I
whatever.
thought he was going to say walk into a bar. I really did.
I know. I mean, but this is their guy. This is the religious rights guy. And this guy worships a thing, but it ain't Jesus. It's money. It's money. Money is his God. And, all the televangelists, all the preachers on TV, money is their God, too. They will sell you, like tubs of dehydrated Mexican food if you give them $150. And they will tell you to use this tub of dehydrated Mexican food as a table until you need it in the apocalypse, which is coming. So please, give us your money. I mean, it's so sad and it's so sick. And he has learned that grift now. He's down to that grift. He's down to, being a Jim Baker. It's funny because the thing that he's on trial for on April 15th, they said, okay, we heard your appeal, blah, blah, blah. We're ready to go. You're going on trial for your first criminal trial on April 15th. Juan Merchan, the judge there, said, okay, and that is a trial where Donald Trump got caught doing, accounting tricks, felonious accounting tricks, giving money to his campaign through a law firm, Michael Cohen's law firm, in order to pay off an adult film star, Stormy Daniels. And this is the right-wing evangelicals guy. I guess you could say Jesus hung out with Mary Magdalene, and she was a prostitute. So it's the same. But I don't recall the part where Jesus actually funneled money through a law firm to pay Mary Magdalene to keep her mouth shut about his mushroom thing being in her face. I don't remember any of that being in there, and so that's where the story is different, just slightly. But it's really breathtaking. It's truly unbelievable to me.
I think the thing that you can't take your eyes off of is that he's commodifying the Bible during Holy Week, that he's selling it for $60, and this money might go to pay some of the legal fees for his relationship with a porn star that he paid off. Let us pray here. I mean, the cynicism here is not a new story, but can I just remind people that Donald Trump has been asked in the past, what is your favorite verse of the Bible? And he has no idea. He talks about 2 Corinthians. He's been asked by faith leaders, do you ever ask for forgiveness? Do you ever pray? Right. Not really. And yet, conservative evangelical Christians have swallowed this, and so I don't expect that they're not going to swallow, that they're going to draw the line when it comes to this. But this is so much Donald Trump. I mean, it is such an artifact of this political moment where this Elmer Gantry grifter who sells the golden tennis shoes is now selling the Bible to Christians at this particular moment.
And laughing his brains out at you.
He's kind of creating a uniform, the hat, the gold sneakers, the Bible, a Confederate flag somewhere, and the most important part, their pockets turned out like the Monopoly man. And this way I can see these idiots coming a long way away.
He's selling the Bible to Christians. Okay. I mean, this is a grift, the likes of which grifters all, envy Donald Trump's talent. This is really the height of grifting. This is it. And Charlie, evangelicals don't swallow. They ought to spit him out too. I mean, for the life of me cannot. This is amazing. Like the day before yesterday, he was saying chip in $5, and then this morning he's selling a Bible for $60 during Holy Week. Okay, I mean it's Easter Sunday this week. You know, the fertility. It's all about eggs. All about eggs. So I just wanted to explain to you yesterday's little dog and pony show at the Supreme Court. That was also a grift. What? Yep, that is a grift. This whole entire legal system is being gamed by the likes of Donald Trump, by the likes of these organizations. You know, like they played the Supreme Court when they did Citizens United. You know that, right? What was his name? Brent Bozell, and all these Heritage Foundation and all the money from ALEC and stuff like this. They built these cases and they took them to the Supreme Court, and the cases were cases about things like, free speech, and money does the talking if you're rich. Money is for rich guys, money is speech, right? And corporations are people, my friends, and that's how they speak. You know, they don't have to have, mifepristone. They don't need Plan B. They definitely will never have a colonoscopy, and they don't take vitamins, and yet they speak. So I realized after looking at the plaintiffs in yesterday's little, mifepristone episode, and how quickly the conservatives on the court were able to do away with any of the merits of this. In fact, they didn't even get to the merits of this case. There are no merits of this case because what they were asked to do yesterday was to hear an argument that said that for the first time in the history of the Food and Drug Administration, 25 years ago, the Food and Drug Administration made a mistake. They made the only mistake they ever made on any drug in the history of drugs that they've ever said were, efficacious and needed, could be sold to Americans on this one drug, mifepristone. And they didn't even get to that because it came to light that the doctors who bonded or banded together under this fake Christianity of theirs, under this faux Christianity, under this heretic, they're heretics. I mean, they're obviously blasphemers. They're people that mock you. They're people who don't take praying people seriously at all. But come to find out that not only did the doctors who brought this case already have conscience exemptions, meaning they would never have to treat anybody who came into the ER with any sort of a miscarriage or any sort of a side effect from mifepristone, even though we found out that, there's 5 side effect sufferers in 1 million, whereas penicillin had 29 side effect sufferers in 1 million, and Viagra had 49 side effect sufferers in 1 million that would present to a emergency room. These guys already had their conscience exemption.
Mary had a little lamb.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
The FDA violated federal law and its duty to keep women safe. Women are now left to receive these drugs in the mail or in their dorm room without ever having been checked by a doctor for life-threatening conditions. That's reckless.
On its face, if one didn't know any better, they could say that sounds scary, right? You've got young girls getting this drug that gives you an abortion, getting it to their dorm room. What is your reaction? How does this drug actually work? How dangerous is it really? You actually know. You're not a dentist.
Yeah, I am not a dentist. I've prescribed this drug, and I've actually been through the different phases of what the FDA has done since approving this drug in 2000. Keep in mind, 24 years ago, this drug was approved by the Food and Drug Administration. And at that time, Steph, we had to actually go through pretty rigorous standards. You had to be a registered prescriber. I was one of them. You had to put in a lot of like detailed reporting on talking to women about adverse effects, any side effects. And we couldn't even dispense the drug through a pharmacy. We had to have kind of in-office dispensing of the drug. We made it as hard as possible to get one of the most safe and effective drugs that, by the way, has had less serious adverse events than Tylenol, a very common drug that people do get in the mail all the time without even a doctor talking to them. So fast forward through COVID, all the FDA did was say, listen, some of those things that we did to relax the ability to get prescriptions on telehealth visits, to be able to get drugs through pharmacies and in the mail, we're going to go ahead and allow for that to continue. Why? Because it's safe and effective, and we have still required for prescribers to submit safety data, for the drug manufacturer to submit safety data. There's no relaxation. You aren't seeing just erroneous boxes of mifepristone and misoprostol just showing up randomly in people's, desk drawers or mailboxes. That is so far from the truth, but it's not shocking when they were also citing, blogs for some sort of scientific evidence, and 2 studies that they cited that were retracted by the very journals that published them. So on its surface, this all looked like it was legitimate because someone in the Supreme Court said so in front of Supreme Court justices. And I think that's the damage that's been done.
You're damn right it is. That's Dr. Kavita Patel. And of course, she is the medical expert on mifepristone because she was part of the studies 24 years ago about adverse, reactions to the drug, et cetera, and taking all the detailed information from the women who had to come into her office. She could prescribe, but they could only receive the drug in the doctor's office 24 years ago, even though mifepristone had been prescribed to European women for 20 years prior to it being a prescribed drug in the United States. So for 44 years, mifepristone's been around. And it is part of a dual drug combo that helps women at 10 weeks. Didn't they say early is good? Didn't the Supreme Court say they're going to give it back to the states? The states could set the level. The states could ban. The states could do whatever they wanted to do. They could have exceptions for rape. They could have exceptions for incest. By the way, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but there was an article in the New York Times about, I think last week, about how because of DNA testing, the prevalence of incest in this country is exponentially greater than you might think, all because of DNA evidence. Okay, so anyway, 24 years ago, that went through FDA. Okay, so yesterday, there's this case at the Supreme Court, right? And we're led to believe that this was a case that was brought by, people of conscience, people who won't treat women who need abortions or who won't treat women who need, DNCs, who won't, help a woman, if she has an adverse reaction to mifepristone or Plan B or any other thing because they are conscientious objectors. Well, it turns out that our laws actually provide for conscientious objectors. It already does. And what you do is, if you're a doctor in a hospital where you might come across a person, a woman who is pregnant, a woman who is having an adverse reaction to an abortifacient, and you have a conscientious objection to doing that, you pre-register when you first come on board in the hospital. And therefore, if a woman comes in presenting that way, she's not ever assigned to you. You are completely overlooked as being a provider because you couldn't possibly, because you have an objection, conscientious objection. And another doctor is therefore assigned to that patient so that you are never disturbed, so that your religious life is always, pristine. And that even though you went to school to treat and help people who are suffering from maladies across the board, you shouldn't have to touch a woman who is presenting in that fashion. Okay. So why is this a thing? Why is this a thing? Then come to find out, listen, yesterday we touched on it. They go judge shopping, right? Just like people used to go doctor shopping for pill mills, doctors, right? So now they go judge shopping which also is, ethically challenged. But they do, and now all of a sudden, after Donald Trump had allowed for Mitch McConnell to cede the federal judiciary with evangelicals who put their religion way ahead of our law, right? Evangelicals who are either looking to, I don't know, I mean, it seems to me like a grift. Okay, and here's what I mean. So it turns out that these doctors who already have this conscientious objection available to them so that they would never, ever have to treat a woman who may be pregnant in a fashion that would cause her somehow to lose her embryo or lose her fetus, right? They would get passed over and another doctor would tend to that person. They already have that. But they went judge shopping. And they all ended up in this one judge's courtroom in Amarillo, Texas. And if I say his name, you'll all go, oh, yeah, that's right. Judge Kaczmarek, right, in Amarillo, Texas. And we all know he was a lawyer for a religious evangelical organization. That's where they plucked him from, okay? And now he is a district court judge in Amarillo, Texas. So what plaintiffs do with religious, cases is they go to him. They go to him knowing that he's going to say, yeah, let's challenge this, particular scenario. Mifepristone, FDA approved, 24 years ago. What's your angle? Well, our angle is going to be Josh Hawley's wife needs a gig, number one. And she's one of these millennial evangelical moms. So she's a great presenter. And we're going to, get her to argue this case, to take her billable hours for a ride all the way to the Supreme Court. So what we need is for you to make a ruling that's kind of iffy, and then we'll go to the Fifth Circuit where we've placed all these judges that will do exactly what we need them to do so that there is a disagreement in the courts and they can ride all the way to the Supreme Court with this particular case, even though this case is bogus. Well, why do you say it's bogus? Well, if you take a little look-see at who these doctors are that came under this umbrella group that brought this case with lots and lots of money, they even argued yesterday in the Supreme Court that the idea that doctors' resources had to be spent on going to court, that in and of itself was harm. That in and of itself was injury. And even Clarence Thomas went, you gotta be kidding me, really? You created a lawsuit and now you have to see that lawsuit through and you're saying you were injured by your own lawsuit? Can't really, give you that. But we can say we'll hear your case at the Supreme Court and you can send Josh Hawley's wife with her billable hours timesheet and we'll make her a very rich woman.
Watched it on TV.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
We were thinking that this challenge would have a fair amount of traction with a 6-3 conservative court, but sort of pretty early on, it became clear that at least some of the conservative justices did not seem totally on board with this. I would say the two moments that really stood out in my mind were when Justice Amy Coney Barrett mentioned that some of the members of the anti-abortion medical group that is challenging these provisions that expanded access to the abortion drug mifepristone, that some of those medical professionals are in fact dentists. That suggested she had given a fair amount of scrutiny to their membership. And then we ended up for much of the rest of the argument debating whether two specific doctors had shown that they were going to be negatively impacted. And then the other one was in part of your setup there when we heard Justice Neil Gorsuch say that he thought that this case raised the problem of universal injunctions. That issue of nationwide injunctions has become a kind of a bugaboo in recent years, especially for conservative legal scholars. And for him to say that in this case suggested that it's very likely that he's going to reject the notion of blocking the FDA's moves on this abortion drug.
Did you hear what Josh just said there? Did you hear what Josh Gerstein just said. There were only 2 doctors that were able to even claim that they would ever come across a woman in that particular situation having an adverse effect, a side effect from mifepristone, even though they were 100 miles away from ever seeing a woman having side effects from mifepristone, had never prescribed mifepristone, had never ever come across a woman needing care after a side effect from mifepristone, but they were claiming that they had been injured by the idea that that could happen to them sometime, somewhere, and that was a bridge too far. But did you hear him say that the other doctors, upon deeper questioning by none other than the handmaid herself, the woman who collects children like keepsake stocks, Amy Coney Barrett, actually was able to deduce from the question and answers that the doctors under this umbrella organization were dentists? It's the wrong end of the woman. Talk about not knowing which end is up. Oh my God. That's like having a dentist testify about a proctologist, complaining that he didn't want to treat you on that end of the, but he's a dentist talking about polyps and polyp removal. I mean, it's so bizarre. It's so strange. So when I heard that, and I also understood that they had been judge shopping. Here, I'm going to let Josh finish his little sentiment here, because he was in the courtroom yesterday, okay?
Then, Josh, how did this case get this far?
How did it?
Well, I mean, part of the answer, Stephanie, is this phenomenon that has developed in the last few years of groups being able to file these cases in specific parts of the country, in specific divisions of federal courts, where they know which judge the case will be assigned to. Or, if they don't know for sure, maybe they know to a 90% or a 95% level of certainty. And this case was assigned to Matthew Kaczmarek, who's a federal judge, who's a Trump appointee, who sits in Amarillo, Texas, and he used to work for a Christian legal organization. So you can understand why, of all the judges in the country, this group would have wanted to put it in front of. They chose him. And you have to think that that had some impact on the rulings that were issued.
Some impact on the ruling. Okay, so here's what I took from that. Who knew they were a bunch of dentists yesterday? I did not know until Josh Gerstein, who was in the courtroom, said, it's interesting because Justice Amy Coney Barrett said, what kind of medicine do you practice that you feel that you might have to treat? Oh, we're dentists. What? Dentists. Okay, so then he expands on how did a case with dentists as the plaintiffs talking about being harmed or injured by having to treat somebody having an adverse effect to mifepristone even pass muster in the lower courts. How did it get so far? And then he says, well, they know what they're doing, these legal organizations, these Christian nationalist legal organizations. They actually put forward federal judges' names for Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell to sign off on and to cede certain district courts and certain federal courts, certain appeals courts with these evangelical legal practitioners, so that people who are looking to make money off of challenging well-established precedent and well-established law, like Roe or like mifepristone or like any of the, they can make money. They can make a crap load of money. They go to Kaczmarek. Kaczmarek says, yes, you can proceed. I think you have a case here. The defendant, in this case, the manufacturer of mifepristone, okay, forget what the name of the laboratory is, but they actually, sue, saying, what are you what is wrong with you? This drug has been on the market for 24 years in the United States, and prior to the United States, it was on the market for 20 years in Europe. This is an old drug, just like Roe was an old law. So they're very careful, though, about, these national injunctions, meaning you can't sell mifepristone nationally, right? We don't want to do a national injunction because we want to give all these, decisions back to the state. That's why he said these national injunctions are sort of a bugaboo in the conservative legal realm, right? Because they don't want a federal abortion ban. They don't want mifepristone being banned federally because that will take the gravy train away from all these lawyers that want to do it in this state and that state, but not in this state, and over here, no, and over there, yes, and whatever, right? But it seems to me like they're doing this just for billable hours. That's so interesting when you consider that Fani Willis was accused of hiring her friend, who she apparently had benefits with, right? She's entitled to have a life. But they accused her of hiring Nathan Wade for billable hours, for the exploitation of billable hours, and that he would bill the state for his hours as a special research prosecutor in Fani Willis's case, thereby enriching herself and him through the exploitation of this case, right? And dragging out this case, even though it's Donald Trump who's dragging out this case. Fani would love to have a court date, and she would love to make it, August 5th. She's already said that. But also, his billable hours, as we found out in the hearing, are capped. So that is something that wasn't available to them. But why would they even think that? Because they're doing it. They're doing it. They're riding the billable hours gravy train all the way to the Supreme Court, knowing they're representing dentists. And that this whole thing is a sham. That, my friends, is unethical. And Josh Hawley's wife needs to go before the bar. Her license needs to be revoked. Bringing sham cases like that's Giuliani.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right, everybody. We are midweek in the last week of the Free Speech TV Spring Pledge Drive, and we would love to ask you to please donate to independent media that does not take any money from political parties, does not take any commercial money, does not shill for pharmaceuticals or for oil companies or any of those things that could compromise a person's ability to talk about the things you need to hear about. So please donate now at 877-378-8669, and you will receive a very welcome hello from somebody that works and toils in Denver, Colorado, to bring you all the shows you love from various ports of call in the United States and deliver them each and every day to DirecTV Channel 348 and Dish Network 9413 and Roku and Apple TV and Sling Network and all the places that you tune in for your favorite free speech TV shows, right? And that's what the pledge drives do. They pay about 15, 16 salaries of people that work in Denver who do everything from the accounting all the way to the distribution of the various shows and go out and find new talent and, launch additional shows to the roster. That's about to happen. I think we're going to get 2 new ones very soon. So you could use the QR code on your screen, and that will take you to freespeech.org, or you could just type in freespeech.org if you're anywhere near an internet. If you're using your phone, the QR code will do, or you can text FSTV to 44321 and make a recurring donation if you're so inclined. Stop it anytime you want, or a one-time donation just today. Whatever feels right to you, please do it by typing in FSTV and then texting that to 44321. Thank you very much for your support. Clay in Mississippi.
Hi.
Hey.
I think you said free speech was 9413. It's 9415.
Oh, I'm sorry. 9415. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Sorry.
So if the Republicans get their way with this Comstock Act and, because they don't like abortion, doesn't that mean no more Viagra?
Yes, I would think so.
and then the brown stuff's going to hit the fan.
Well, Clay, every sperm is sacred in their world. So yes,
Well,
of
yeah,
course,
I
of
know.
course. I mean, what are you going to do? Launch it and it could, hit the ceiling or your sock? No, can't have it.
I just wanted to point that out.
Yes, point it.
They seem to be overlooking that.
Yeah, they do.
So.
But you know what? This wasn't even a real case. This is
Right,
truly a grift. And now
But that's what they always do. They never think about the consequences of what they want to do.
I'm telling you, some do, some don't. Like the Citizens United was meant to take the lid off of corporate giving, right? It really was a thing. This, though, they knew better. They understood that the few doctors that they could cobble together to bring this were freaking dentists. Really? I mean, when I found that out last night, I was like sitting there, oh my God, really? I couldn't believe it.
It's so sad that the nonsense that they come up with gets
as far as
through.
It does, right? It does. It really is. That you would think that somebody along the judicial way would say, "This is bogus. We know what you're doing. It's unethical. Stop wasting the court's time." First of all, you venue shop. Number two, you're creating a conflict in the law that doesn't exist. Number three, you're representing dentists and talking about reproductive health. Unless you're Stormy Daniels, that makes no sense to anybody, right? And that's a stretch. But I mean, honest to God, this is crazy. This is absolute madness. But I want to show you how they're doing it here in Florida too. So a lot of the parents in Florida are now really, really concerned with something Ron death sentence has allowed to be signed into law. Okay, there is a House bill. It's called House Bill 3, HB 3. And it will actually direct social media companies in Florida, just like we went through this thing with porn in Texas. I am shocked that in Arkansas and Texas and Missouri that people aren't, like screaming that they can't log on to Pornhub because Texas banned Pornhub. Pornhub didn't ban Texas. It's not like, I mean, it's the other way around. Pornhub banned Texas. Pornhub banned Arkansas. Pornhub doesn't want to show its porn to people in these states because these states are passing these heinous, unenforceable laws and putting Pornhub in a position to be fined if they don't follow the new ID laws that Texas has passed. Same thing's happening here in Florida, but not with this. This has to do with children, not porn, but social media. So Ron DeSantis has a completely Republican legislature here, and they passed a bill that says that anybody under the age of 14 cannot have a social media account. What? Yep. They passed a law that says that kids under 14 cannot have social media accounts. And beginning this coming January 2025, anybody under the age of 14 who has not been able to show government-issued IDs, the same thing with Texas and Pornhub, will have their social media accounts deleted. Deleted. So those priceless memories of, your first hot summer when you were 12 and 13, gone. Gone. Seriously. And they're going to give parents, they love this, the right to sue. What? Yeah. This is the gravy train, okay? They're going to give parents the right to sue, and any kid under the age of 14 who creates a social media account on any platform, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, it doesn't matter, Facebook, their parents will now be allowed to sue for $10,000 in damages, and companies that are in violation of the law requiring government ID from 14-year-olds are liable for up to $50,000 per violation, as well as attorney's fees and court costs. It's a game. This is not to keep children safe or to protect their innocent eyes from pornography or any of those things. Because if that were the goal, then simply saying to social media, that you can't show porn except behind a paywall would do it. But instead of regulating the platform, they want to create some sort of a financial benefit for lawyers, some sort of billable hours situation for the trial attorneys. Now, you remember how back in the day, the Republicans were all screaming about trial attorneys were the reason why insurance was so expensive, that malpractice cases were off the hook, and that's why you had to pay through the nose for insurance and stuff like that. And doctors' visits were so expensive because they all had to have malpractice insurance. And this was a problem with the liberals. The liberals were doing this. The liberals were taking the trial attorneys on board and taking their money and doing favors for them by creating these, suable, events. These, malpractice cases where a guy leaves, 85, Office Depot staples in you.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right. Spence in West Virginia.
Hey, good afternoon to you. You are an American blessing, there's no doubt about it. But the thing I called about is, with my daughters and my wife, I've always said that the government will never come in and be involved in their private part. That's just the one. But the main reason I called you is, why is he allowed to go on the stock exchange if he's not allowed to do business in New York?
Oh, well, first of all, it's all paused because he's appealing, right? That was the big damn deal with the $145 million being the price to appeal instead of $445 million, right? So he couldn't get the 440. If he had to make 445 and he couldn't, he wouldn't be able to appeal, and maybe they wouldn't let him trade on the stock exchange, even though Truth Social is incorporated in Sarasota, Florida. And the ruling actually says he can't be an officer of any company. He can't be an officer or a director of any company. But it's all paused pending appeal. So that's kind of why I think they went for this as soon as they said 145. He goes, okay. Now, he hasn't posted the money yet. So I find this fascinating. It's a great question that you're asking. Because if he can't post the money, and he's already trading on the stock exchange, on the NASDAQ. He's not on the New York Stock Exchange. He's on NASDAQ, right? Yeah. He said he would love to go on the New York Stock Exchange, but they made it so hard for him to do business in New York that he wouldn't go on the New York Stock Exchange. So he's on NASDAQ. But but it's a grift, and everyone knows it's a grift, and they still let him issue stock. There's something so wrong with our system, Spence, where it's, listen, I think every single person who would ever look at it understood that our justice system is, let's say there's more than one. There's one for you. There's one for me. There's one for rich people. There's one for black people. There's one for poor people. There's one for, billionaires. You can go venue shop. You can go judge shopping if you're rich. You could post a bond and you could do all kinds of crap, But but if you're us, you can't.
We need to let the dentist fix it. Then that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Have a wonderful day. You are an American treasure.
Well, you are too. Thank you very much for being in West Virginia. You are needed there so much. I can't even tell you. So thank you.
Amen.
Amen.
God bless you.
You too. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really a question for a very, very specific type of legal expert. But as far as I can see, everything that the Judge Engoron ruled applies to Donald Trump with regard to not being an officer or a director of any New York company is on pause, number one. Number two, Truth Social isn't a New York company. It's incorporated in Sarasota, Florida. Number three, it's not on the New York Stock Exchange. It's on the NASDAQ. And number four, he didn't post. I shouldn't say he posted. He's appealing, and in order to appeal, he has to post $145 million bond. The bond suggests that he's good for it, right? That's why you have to post a bond. But the idea that he owes $445 million as a result of Engoron's ruling, and that the Second Circuit Court of Appeals said, oh no, put up 145 and you're good, without any explanation, is also an example of treatment that you and me will never get, ever, in a court of law. So, like I said, I don't know anything about that justice system that he toils in with regard to this ruling. Because if you ask Spence, if you ask me, if you ask anybody in this audience who isn't a billionaire, which is, I'll just say all of us, this is special treatment that no one in this audience could ever expect to or would receive. Now, let me tell you something else. Here's the cherry on the cake of this, legal disgusting day. Okay, first we find out they're dentists yesterday. What? Second, we realize that they're writing these billable hours all the way to the Supreme Court to enrich themselves, that there really is no case with the mifepristone. There never was a case with the mifepristone. There couldn't be a case because the FDA did not make a mistake, but they didn't even get to the merits of the case, right? Because they already have their conscious, whatever. It's a farce. The whole thing, the whole case was about billable hours. Okay. The same thing goes for the social media thing that's about to happen in Florida with the 14-year-olds. That's all a legal bonanza for trial lawyers. And then today, I see, you know how I've been rooting for Ken Paxton, the AG, the Attorney General of the great state of Texas, who messes with Texas every day that he is the Attorney General, the chief law enforcement officer in the state, because he's been under indictment for securities fraud, which is what we were just discussing, right? Well, check this out. Ken Paxton, the chief law enforcement officer in the state of Texas, was about to go on trial for these securities frauds that have been hanging over him for 9 years, okay? And 3 weeks from today was supposed to be the start of his trial. So, of course, now he's looking for a deal, and the prosecutor comes through. The prosecutor, 3 weeks before Ken Paxton's trial, says to Ken Paxton, you don't have to go to trial if you agree to these terms. Now, this is securities fraud. This is $271, almost $300,000 worth of securities fraud. What does that mean? It means Ken Paxton was shilling for a company, a tech company, doesn't matter which one, but he was shilling for a tech company with some stock that was, worthless, and vouching for it. And he never disclosed to the clients that he was pitching the stock to that he was being paid to do so. So he committed securities fraud and cost them almost $300,000, $300 large. So it's grand theft, larceny, and fraud. 3 weeks before his trial, a deal is struck. 15 hours of a legal ethics course. Oh, yeah, wait. And pay restitution to the two people he defrauded 10 years ago, when he solicited their investment in a technology company without disclosing that he was being paid to put a sunny face on this thing. He doesn't have to enter a plea either under this plea deal. Can you believe this? Because if he entered a guilty plea, which is usual, in order to get the deal, ask any poor kid who ever pled guilty to things they didn't even do because they couldn't afford to go to trial. But they were told they would get a lesser sentence if they just pled guilty. And they didn't even do it half the time. He doesn't even have to enter a guilty plea. Why? Because if he entered a guilty plea, he would be barred from running for office in the future. And he wants to remain the Attorney General because there are still other cases. So he has to pay $271,000, take 15 hours of ethics courses, and he doesn't have to plead guilty to anything so he can continue to run for office. Okay? This is unbelievable to me. The two other cases, by the way, are the whistleblowers who turned him into the FBI. Okay? He fired them. He took punishment. He took punitive action against whistleblowers, which is not allowed by law in this country. So that's still, out there. And then he's got a case at the Texas bar for bringing that ridiculous case, another ridiculous case, to the Supreme Court on behalf of Donald Trump and some other states that he isn't even part of. And the Supreme Court dismissed it and said, get the hell out of here. There's no fraud. Okay, there just isn't. You don't have any. And you're Texas, for God's sake. Your election is not even in dispute. Why are you bringing this case on behalf of swing states that don't want to bring this case because they don't have any fraud evidence? They have nothing. Get out of here. So now the Texas bar understands he's Rudy Giuliani. And they understand how bogus this was. And so now they have to, make a decision on whether or not he keeps his law license. And one of these days, maybe they'll get around to it, because God knows this all happened 3 years ago. Wow. Listen, I hate to say it, but if you're an ordinary Joe, if you're just a working class stiff, if you're just trying to make it through, raise your family, you need to pay attention because it's broken. The law is broken.